Okay, today is a topic I'm very excited about because almost every Sunday when we're singing a song, and some of the songs say Lord, some of the songs say God, even a few occasionally say Jesus, and some say Buddha, I find that I want to talk about that. And what I want to start off is this: there is no wrong name for God. I don't care if you're praying to the God of bananas. It's okay. There is no name for God that isn't right on. And I like all the different names for God. Some people have, over the years, they have developed some pain around some of the names for God. People do. And part of why people come to Unity is to heal some of the pain that some people have experienced through other people telling them what God or who God is. And I'm borrowing from Reverend Paul Smith, who has this thing about the three faces of God: infinite, intimate, and inner. He calls it a new integral trinity, and I like exploring that. And I'm getting all into exploring why I like to look at God infinitely, intimately, and inner. And then I ask myself, well, why? What would be the point of a talk about that? And I recognize that it's because I know that sometimes all of us have had a little confusion, especially in Unity. We say all the time, the Christ within. Or we say, we are the Christ. Well, what does that mean? What does it mean, I am the Christ? It can be confusing. So talking about the three faces of God can help to dispel a little confusion, and also to recognize that our relationship with God travels through different let's say different aspects. You know? Like sometimes God is outside of us and everywhere present, but out there, like that beautiful song or hokey song, whatever you think, From a Distance. I always like that song, From a Distance, because it's like God's out there throughout the universe, in everything, but just watching us while we do our thing. And then there's that beautiful, intimate relationship that many people find with Jesus the Christ, or the Buddha, or Holy Mother Mary, or Kuan Yin. There are many people find a personal relationship with God, intimately. Like that God is our friend. And probably one of the reasons that Jesus seemed to be such a good teacher was that he was teaching that you can have an intimate relationship with God. And then there's the inner God. That's the God we talk about a lot in Unity when we say, I am God. Then exploring that in integral terms, and integral terms just means that we're exploring all aspects, well, it just means all aspects of something throughout history, bearing in mind evolution from the beginning of humans to nowadays and the future, and also including our relationship for ourselves, the me, and with our community, the we. So integral kind of means we're looking at every aspect, all of it. Jesus talked about God, to God, and as God. When he was talking about God, he was talking about God out there, almost like a loving God, creative God, God in everything. When he was talking to God, he often called God Father. And then he talked about as God, that especially in the Gospel of John and the Gospel of Thomas, those sayings of Jesus really hit us with the experience of God, as I would call it, the oneness experience of God. Now, this is an expanded Trinity because it does not just include the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. It includes all the gods, other female deities, and those of other spiritual paths besides Christianity. It reaches to the cosmos and beyond, and puts all of us in the same plane as this person, Jesus. And there are 3 beautiful spiritual practices that we can use that connect us to each face of God. The third person, intimate face, is connected through reflection or contemplation about the divine. So that would be thinking. There's times when you want to reach out to God about thinking. In fact, one of my professors, that was her main way of connecting to God. Like, God had to make sense. And that's one of the things I think that unity does for us, is that it gives us the perspective where some of these things make sense. I never could get the whole stable thing. I didn't understand that. Jesus born in a stable and that story and all of that. It didn't connect to me. But with the greater perspective and recognizing that all of our thoughts and stories about God are a searching, and if we look at it throughout time, then thinking works. I don't know if any of you have seen the Book of Mormon. It's a really good play. It's really, really funny. And there's a part of it where one of the Mormon missionaries is going to a village in Africa. And he starts incorporating, actually starts making up stories. And he starts making up stories to explain the inner truth. And it gets pretty crazy, and it's all about vampire frogs and all kinds of weirdness. And, we're in the audience, and we're laughing because we think it's so funny. And, the whole point is that, well, we're making up stories to explain the ineffable, the thing that has no words. And that's good. It's how it's supposed to be. And it is funny and delightful, and it's great to have that big perspective. And that's why I think that unity is really good for thinking people, for people who want to connect thinking-wise. Because you don't have to believe impossible things. You get to see the whole picture. And you can use your thinking brain to see that all the stories and the practices about God are perfectly reasonable when we look at them in the context of evolution. It's all correct. Like, no wrong name for God, no wrong story about God. It's all about what we're searching for. I think that's one great gift about unity. So reflection also includes all the reading you want to do. We've got books in that bookstore. all the listening to people you want to listen to about God, and also just sitting and thinking, contemplating what's going on for you, using that thinking. The second person, intimate faith, is connected through devotional prayer to God. I call that the feeling part. I don't know about you, but I will still come up with Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee, blessed art thou among women, blessed fruit of thy womb, Jesus, and so on, when I'm under stress. And that is a prayer to me, to the female aspect of God who works for me. You know, I have spent a couple of nights praying to God using that. So all of the prayers that we use, they're good. No wrong prayers. No wrong prayers. And sometimes I find a lot of connection from writing a prayer. You know, my own prayer. I like to write my own prayer. And there's something about that that really connects me. And I'm writing to somebody, a being, a close, you know, who I think of as God. And it's personal. And it works. And the thing about that is it has to be your prayers. You know, you need to pray the prayers that work for you. Whether it's a childhood prayer, whether it's the daily word, whether it's any number of prayers, that devotion, and it evokes that feeling of love and the feeling that you are loved. It's not just the feeling of you loving God. I believe that second person really evokes a feeling that you are loved, that God is there loving you. And then the third person interface, we connect to God through meditation. Now, that's not thinking, that's not feeling, that's transcendence, and that's oneness, and that's an experience. Now, there's a practice of meditation, and you know I like to hammer all of you to meditate. I think it's incredibly important, even if you meditate for 5 minutes once a week. Of course, 5 minutes a day is good also, 30 minutes a day, all of it's good. I really like to hammer you that because it's something, there's some kind of meditation you have to do. There has to be some way where you quiet your mind and you quiet your feelings so that you can experience God. I mean, that's what the meditation is about. There's many practices, and it is about stopping your ego so that you can connect to this amazing force. Again, it's ineffable. There's no words except where, you know, people say things like, awe. We sang, my God is an awesome God today. People use words like oneness. People use words like wonderful. One of my favorite stories about transcendence is the story of Eckhart Tolle, where he woke up connected. He was depressed. He woke up connected, and he went and spent 2 years on a park bench, blissed out. That was kind of fun. There he was on the park bench. I love that story because it describes what is in the longing in me to connect to God, which is only met by that transcendence. And I've been lucky enough to have that happen to me. I haven't had 2 years on a park bench yet, but the reason I'm in this work and I'm telling all of you about this is because it really is unbelievable bliss when you feel that oneness and you feel that connection. It's the transcendence, and it is beyond a feeling and beyond a thought, but the words I'm going to use are like, everything is so okay. nothing will harm me. Everything is so okay, nothing will harm the people I love. And whatever comes up will be okay too. All of it. The yin, the yang, the good, the bad, all of it is just the way it's supposed to be. And that is such a wonderful feeling, because I don't know about you, but I spend a lot of time kind of armored like this. I hunker down and I'm protected and I'm fighting against the way things are not the way I want them to be. Oh, it takes a lot of energy. Oh, it's exhausting. I can't even get one husband to do anything. And it really isn't my job, right? That really is just a bad joke. It takes a lot of energy to fight against the way things are. And the opposite of that is this awesome release and relaxation and beautiful open heart where it's all okay. It's all okay. That is what I want for all of us, to have that connection. And I believe that the spiritual practice of meditation will lead us there. Now, the last thing I want to say, the integral part of this is that we will practice these things on our own. You practice contemplation, reflection, you practice praying too, and you practice meditation or oneness. There's many different practices there. We do that by ourselves, and that's the me. We also do it with each other. That's why we come together in community. We do it together. We make these practices together, and we create a spiritual community in order to connect and to get all of us forward. It just works better. It's amazing. I was up last week in Clear Lake with a bunch of ministers, the Unity South Central Board, the region for Unity, and we have what we call our in-person meeting. It does happen to be on a lake. There is some jet skiing involved, but there was also work. But about half of us met every morning for meditation. And I like to meditate. It's my practice, and my practice is in the morning, so that works out fine. And one of the ministers says, I really look forward to this because of meditating together, because there's something about being in the presence of other people that supports me in this. It creates the unconditional love, or the truth and integrity consciousness that helps support us. So I invite all of us to keep that in mind for the three faces of God. There's also the three faces, the three connections to God while we're with each other. That all of those things are expanded and made better by we're in community. So some things that we want to do together when we meditate is to hold each other and ourselves in this consciousness. And it makes all the difference. Let me read this from Peter Block. This is part of the christening service I use because I love it so much. Community offers the promise of belonging and calls for us to acknowledge our interdependence. To belong is to act as an investor, owner, and creator of this place, to be welcome even if we are strangers. As if we came to the right place and are affirmed by that choice. So this morning, we all came to the right place, and let us affirm that choice. Let's take an offering for unity.